Commission, so.
As I read.
Just started the recording, so we should go. Are you ready?
All right, great. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. It's July 11th, 4 p.m., meeting of the Italian Village Commission. Our next business meeting will be Tuesday, July 25th at 12 p.m. in this room. The hearing following that will be August 8th at 4 p.m. in this room. Can I swear in staff?
Yes, of course.
Raise your hand, state your name.
Morgan Grove.
Oh, you're not, okay. Swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Introduction of commissioners. Paige, you want to start?
Yeah, Paige Podlansky.
Nothing. Shannon Fergus.
Carlo Trot.
Brooke Michael Smith.
All right, before we move on, I don't think we have a public forum completely, but we do from staff.
Yes.
You want to make an announcement?
Yes, we would like to take a moment real quick. On behalf of the planning division, we want to recognize and thank David Cook for the 19 years of service that he gave to the Italian Village Commission. His term ended on June 30th, and he was not renewed at the time. That's why he's not present at this meeting this month. Our division leadership is working on a formal acknowledgement for his service in the upcoming weeks. We'll be addressing it then. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to the division director, Mark Billis.
And can you let us know the process for choosing the next commissioner? I believe that his appointment was an Italian Village Society appointment, or?
I believe so, and that will be up to my colleague Belkis Schnellhaus. She has been going through and vetting some possible candidates to fill this position, and we have a couple lined up for the different commissions. She'll go through that process, and I'll keep you guys updated, of course, on the next steps.
Perfect. Any questions?
Thank you, David, for his.
Yes, thank you very much.
We'll have another
Study
take of
process.
Yeah.
All right, next on the agenda is approval of staff approvals. It looks like those start on page.
Page 6, I believe, Commissioner Fergus.
Oh, I see them now. Wait, hold on. The iPad's being weird. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and call out addresses. Let me know if you need to abstain from any of them. 25 East First Avenue. I need a different, this is second. Oh, wait, ooh, yeah. Oh, it's back. Sorry. It's like Jason actually typically has this bad one, and now I have it. Okay. 159 East Fourth. Thank you. 149 East First, 243 East Third Avenue, 24 to 30 East First Avenue, 161 East Fourth Avenue, 904 Hamlet, 789 Summit, 160 to 168 Warren Street, 100 to 102 East Second, 1065 North 6th, 1010 to 112 East 4th, 1135 to 1145 Summit, 1059 North Hamlet. That's it. Yes. No abstentions. Can I have a motion for approval?
I move that we approve the staff.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, now let me get all the way back to the front of this thing. Approval of minutes from last meeting. You reviewed them. They're in the box. Do I have a motion for that?
Motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
I seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We had a June special meeting, which replaced the business meeting 2 weeks ago.
Correct.
Do I have an approval and second from anyone who's at that meeting?
I approve it.
Okay, second?
I was not there.
That's not there. Were you there?
No.
Oh, it was very true.
Yeah,
We may have to continue those to next month until we have that.
yeah, those minutes can be continued.
Okay, we will do that.
Interesting. I've never had that happen before. Okay, since we didn't have a business meeting, we're reviewing the staff recommended applications, I assume?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll just begin.
okay, so we'll begin with IV 2307-015, 1056 Summit Street. Do we have anyone here for that? Come on forward. All right, we'll swear you in and then staff will give an introduction. Can you raise your right hand, state your name?
Rick Watts.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Perfect, staff.
All right. The proposed work description, application was reviewed as conceptual at the past June special meeting, IV 2306-012. Project is to disassemble 14-foot by 6-foot front porch, rebuild porch floor framing, porch floor to be tongue and groove, porch roof to be removed and install new roof to match existing, roof shingles to be Owens Corning Estate Gray from the approved shingles list, existing OG gutters to be temporarily removed and reinstalled in same location, installing new railing. Railing will be 42 inches tall or 36 inches with an overall height of 42 inches from grade. Remove existing brackets and posts and replace with similar style brackets and posts. All wood to be painted bravado red to match existing trim. Applicant initially reached out on March 14th, the application for front porch repair and remodel. HPO staff responded on March 20th after further research into file. We mentioned the following, that it appears the existing porch posts and brackets are original property. Since they appear to be original, we would recommend repairing the posts and brackets and load replacing. If there's indication of broader deterioration, we would request photos to be submitted for us to review. We would not recommend the proposed spindles since the historic brackets are existing, though that we can be seen on the other properties in the village. Those have been since removed from the application. The porch floor is not original and appears to have been replaced in the 90s. What is causing the deflection of the roof? And we will request additional photos of raw deterioration of the roof, existing ceiling, and other elements on the porch. Application was reviewed as conceptual at the past June special meeting. These are taken from the unapproved June 27th, 2023 minutes. Commissioners in support of HPO staff recommendations on not to add the additional Victorian detail. Commissioners agree that the proposed spindle trellis on the porch is too ornate for the structure. Commissioner Goodwin recommended to possibly incorporate rafter tails or to have the sides of the porch roof open. They stated the applicant may not need to install railing on the porch since the height does not meet the code without the railing. Or it does meet the code without the railing. They asked for additional reasoning for adding the new railing. Commission would additionally be in support of possibly replacing the round railing that is currently there. Commissioner Studi was in support to retain and reuse the existing brackets or to replace with similar design. Commissioners believe that may be appropriate to add a half post on the facade to match the existing post. They requested updated scaled measure drawings to be included for the front and side elevations of the porch. Applicant responded stating the roof slope and pitch will be installed to match existing with the gutters. Downspouts to be installed and match existing placement. The columns are being replaced due to 3 feet at the bottom of the columns being replaced due to rot deterioration. The decorative spindles have been removed from the design and the railing is still being proposed for customer safety. Staff recommends approval of application IV 2307-015 as submitted. Then all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff review and approval prior to issuance of certificate with conditions. The replaced columns match the existing in size and profile. To retain and restore the existing brackets since they appear to be original to the porch. If brackets are unable to be restored, new brackets to match existing style or close as possible. Basis of staff rec is 311611, standards for alteration. Italian Village Guidelines porches, page 32. And that is all.
Okay,
Thank you.
do you have anything to add before we?
No, we, at the special meeting, we went over a lot of these details, as far as adding the half post to the house. It has metal aluminum siding that you can't take apart and put back on because it bends up. So, and they understood that. We did eliminate the trellis that was around the top of it so that it's not so ornate. We were gonna stick with simple brackets just in the corners of the posts, not on the house, I don't think. Well, yeah, I think they were maybe on the house, but they're simple. They're close, as close as we could find to what's there. The stuff that is there is like rotted and missing parts and stuff. The railing is a simple wooden railing with simple spindles that are close to what's already there, or what traditionally would be there. And the customer's gonna have them painted. Later down the road to that era, you know, where they do multiple colors. We're gonna just stick with the bravado red, which is what's already there on the rest of the house. Other than that, everything is going pretty much the same as what it was, as far as the posts or the brackets, as close as we could possibly get.
Okay. Infinity Bridge.
Just thanks for taking notes from the last conversation,
Oh, yeah.
kind of limiting some of those additional Victorian details. And I just want to reiterate that I think it's a good point that staff's comment about the proportion and size of those columns matching existing.
Good.
And everything else I think looks appropriate. So no other comments.
What about over here?
Well, I mean, when you look at this drawing and you've met code, so your spindles are, the openings between them are less than 4 inches apart, it looks like.
So we will make code when we install the railing. I'm not an artist and it took everything I had to make that
You did a
drawing.
pretty good job.
Thanks. As far as how many spindles actually belong in there, that's probably not correct.
I would say because it is not required by code, because you don't have a drop greater than 30 inches. It feels heavy in there. And so I would make the spacing of those a little bit wider apart.
Yeah, so I think that's deceiving is what I'm saying. I probably
Yeah.
put too many in the drawing, but they will be to code. In order to build it, I mean, I can't put them any farther apart than what code allows, which I think is 4 inches right now.
Can't he though? Because it's
Because it's
just
not
a
required.
12-inch drop.
It's for babies' heads.
Yeah, it's
well-
not for height, it's more for heads being able to be placed through.
But I thought it was a difference of 30 inches is when code comes into.
It's a combination of things. It's either 30 inches above grade, anything over 200 square foot, and on a primary entrance to a residence. Those are the three things. I pull hundreds and hundreds of permits every year.
Spacing of spindle.
We'll make a note of that. All right, so,
Okay.
but
So I was gonna follow what Commissioner Trott just said, because it appears that you want to have the spindles, but they're not required by code.
now he's saying they are because it's greater than 200 square feet and it's in the front. I think they were required.
I didn't-
So you might have misunderstood me. Actually, it's not
It's the space.
required by code because it is less than 200 square foot.
Oh, it's less.
A little
Okay, I
bit.
thought you were talking.
It's not 30 inches off the ground, but it is a primary entrance. And the customer wanted it for safety purposes for her so that she's able to have something to grab a hold of as she's out there on the porch.
Yeah.
And if she was to fall that way, she wouldn't fall off of the
Right.
porch.
I see the reasoning for the rail. I thought, with the existing rail, with the one post in the middle, looks,
It looks like something you would hitch your horse to. It's just one
I know.
round thing that goes across at about 36 inches above the flooring.
right. It seems really busy though with the picket fence that's in front of it and then having all of the rest of the pickets on the rail. If you were to, rather than add pickets in your railing that are 4 inches apart, if you just did two more substantial pickets or posts at the third points to make that rail sturdy enough, because I get that, that might visually give,
I know there's quite a few other porches in that area that do have spindles on them, so I mean, it wouldn't
Yeah.
stand out compared to the other residences around it. And
yeah,
Because
I could speak with her about that.
well, I mean, it's just a thought.
Yeah, sure, sure.
I would not hold up an approval on this.
Appreciate that,
Seems
but
like a lot.
I can definitely convey that to her and see how she feels about it. If she's fine with it, it's less materials and less labor, really, so.
Yeah, and I think another thing that we're seeing is in the drawing, oh, there we go. It's just one line instead of the width of it, so it makes it look like it's more to.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that when I was doing the drawing, but there was no way I could get around putting everything on there and making it not look super busy.
I like the horse trail too. I think it's-
Oh, that's kind of cool, but
so we're, is there maybe a motion regarding a reduction in spindles if they would like, but otherwise good to go?
I would,
I would just say no closer than, don't have the openings any closer than the 4 inches that's required.
not a problem.
Because for code purposes, for spindles, you want them a certain distance, so again, you know, a child can't fit their heads through them.
Right, and that's it's 4 inches, so we're just saying don't make them any closer than that.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
So the maximum being 4 inches for the space.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We will build it right to code.
you will.
Do you need a fuller motion than that? Good.
No, I think we're good as long as the commissioners are fine with the brackets that are being proposed for replacement, as well as the posts that are being proposed for replacement, or as Commissioner Shansky said, to, replace insides. But that's up to the commission for those elements.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think that, I agree with the brackets and the columns that are proposed.
So whose motion was that?
I think it's yours.
I can't make a motion.
Oh,
So motion to approve, IV 2307-015, with the condition that the spindles on the front porch railing are
No closer. than
Minimum
4
of-
inches.
4 inches apart.
All right, do I have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then I'll just receive the appropriate.
Yes.
$38 or something.
Yes, we'll do minutes and then send COAs after. I'll email you.
Great, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to continued applications. We have IV 2304013 DB, 281, 289 Detroit. All right, can you state your names for the record?
Tom O'Brien. Carrick Cheryl.
Swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability.
Yes.
All right, staff.
Proposed work description. This is changes include the window style or placement to not comply with the COA, requesting approval constructed with additional applied SDL to all windows. Vertical faux wood grain metal siding that is currently installed on both 281 and 289 Detroit Avenue with the option of painting. Following is taken from the unapproved June 13th, well now approved, 2023 Italian Village Commission meeting. Some commissioners have concern with the painting of the existing metal siding finish since they do not have additional information from the manufacturer guaranteeing the application of paint. Commissioners additionally have concern with the applied SDLs since there was no additional information provided for the application. Commissioner Trott stated that she would be in support with continuing the application to allow the applicant time to provide additional information. Commissioners recommend applicant to supply examples of applied SDL being installed on the property and discuss the possibility of having all the front elevations approved for replacement and to consider the applied SDL on sides and rear of the structures. Applicant has responded to the feedback provided at the previous hearing. Grill type of the applied SDL to be DS5 aluminum. Profile will be applied with the method of using a 3M adhesive tape to the exterior per manufacturer's recommendation. Applicant has provided an example where the applied SDL has been installed. This has been installed for about 5 years with no issues. To paint the aluminum siding, applicant proposes to paint the siding with Sherwin-Williams Extreme Bond Primer, which is designed to adhere to hard glossy surfaces. Once primer is applied, 2 coats of Sherwin-Williams exterior latex paint will be applied. July business meeting was canceled to hold June special meeting, and no additional feedback was given by the commission at the time. HBO staff would recommend a ferrous paint to be applied to a metal surface in lieu of latex paint, which may cause rusting. Staff recommends approval of application IV 23-04-013 DB as submitted with any all clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to issuance. Conditions include installing the appropriate SDL, simulate divided light, propel and purview windows. If commission is in agreement with the SDL, for applicant to select the DS1, since it appears to have a deeper profile than the DS5 selected, which would be more appropriate for the window button. And the paint, the inappropriate faux grain metal siding with appropriate paint for a metal surface, and for it to match the color that is currently there to give the smooth finish per code and guidelines. Basis of staff rec is 311604, 311612. And that is it.
All right. You all have anything to add? No? Okay. So it looks like we've got 2 items left. I think we'll talk about painting first, and then the SDLs. Commissioner Trot, the SDLs are the months
Yeah.
Oh,
On the windows.
on the windows.
Are they interior or exterior?
They're exterior.
They're currently grilled.
Correct. Thanks. Yeah, currently I think they're interior and that's what we're revising is to be an exterior button. And so they're proposing instead of a whole new window, a adhesive applied on the exterior, which was those examples that they provided this go around.
Which is also the way that the manufacturer applies the SDLs in this particular window.
Okay.
They're all adhered with 3M tape.
Well, let's start with paint. How does the commission feel about the paint? Paige, you start. I'm using your first name because I can't pronounce your last name
That's
yet.
perfectly fine. Apparently I can't either. Yeah, I was in agreement that painting the siding would be an appropriate adjustment. As the siding is to reconcile, I guess, the inappropriate siding that's there. And it sounds like I agree with staff's recommendation as far as the type of painting itself. But I would be okay approving that, moving forward with that.
so my only concern about that is that what happens if it doesn't last? I mean, it wouldn't be good for the owner, wouldn't be good for resale and that wouldn't, and so it's, you know, we're kind of taking a chance by approving it. And I want to do that for you, but then I think I also feel, and maybe this is not something that exists, that we would want, for everybody's sake, that we know it's going to last, and if it doesn't, that something else is done in its place.
I can speak on that real briefly, if that's all right, if you'd like to talk first on that behalf.
Our opinion is that's a code enforcement issue down the road when the paint peels.
Yeah,
That's
what was
through. Because I mean, normal paint on wood or other homes, you know, if there's some deterioration, code will come out and notify. So it would probably follow the same process if that were to happen. From what we've seen, I'm just.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure that, you know, the house stays in the state that you want it to.
We want the same thing.
Yeah.
I guess now that I know what an SDL is and that it's not a superimposed dead load. I'm okay with this, but I'm curious, what is your paint palette? What color?
It would match the color that is already on the building. There's trim around the metal that's actually fiber cement that's in place that was selected to match the adjacent aluminum material. We would use that same paint color.
Big page 3 you might have If you zoom into that photo,
Which page?
3.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just supposed.
Yeah, that trim there.
That the white trim?
Or no, I think if you go up that corner trim. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
okay. Got it.
So you're gonna match this color,
Yeah.
and you can see the mullions are behind the glasses.
Right. Right. That's fine.
Commissioner Trot, do you,
Get this over with.
Yeah.
do you have anything on the SDLs, Commissioner Trot?
No, I mean, I think it's gonna be much nicer on the outside than on the inside, so.
Yeah, I agree with staff that the deeper profile will help add some shadow there, so that DS1, I'd agree with approving that.
Okay,
I don't have that information right in front of me. What is the depth of that? I know the supplier selected the applied SDL because it would align with the existing frame, whereas a deeper one might be proud of the existing frame, which might not result in the desired effect.
It looks like there's a good chance it would be proud of the existing frame. That frame seems quite thin where it's hitting the glass.
Yeah.
so you wanted the staff, you were under the DS6 is what you had.
You want me to-
Yeah, DS1, the applicant is proposing a DS5. We were just thinking the DS1 because it looks like a deeper profile, which is typically seen on historic windows. But in the case of if it's going to be prouder than the framing, then the DS5 would be a good alternative if that's the case.
It will still break the reflection, which I think in most cases is the thing that makes it look less than authentic.
Okay, I have nothing to add. Do I have a motion from the commission?
Yeah, motion to approve 230401
DB.
DB. I don't know what I was supposed to say. I guess with the only, I don't even know if it's a condition or not, the preference of the commission being to include the DS1 Muttons if they do not stand proud of the frame, with the DS5 Muttons being acceptable as well.
And what about the staff recommended 8?
Yes, and go with the staff recommended paint.
For the Ferris,
Yeah.
And the siding.
with latex.
Do I have a motion or do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is this it?
That's it.
Yes, final one.
Get everything
Finalized
finalized
after this, yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, we are on number 3, IV 2306-008-31 East Russell. Raise your right hand, state your name for the record.
Paul Childress.
Swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Proposed work description, installed a 4x4 foot pressure treated wood planter box around tree in the rear, box to be painted tricorn black. Installed a 4x4 foot pressure treated flower box at the front of property, boxes to be painted tricorn black, and planned 8 to 10 boxwoods. Applicant was previously in front of the commission to resolve IV 2201-008B for the rear parking pad, which was approved in December 2022. During that review, commissioners commented on the tree in the rear yard and recommended that the applicant install something to retain the gravel around the tree. We informed applicant in January 2023 that for the new retaining box around the tree, we would need a new COA application to be reviewed, which was not received at the time. At the June business meeting, commissioners stated that the treated lumber flower beds will need to be discussed further. Pressure treated flower beds are not typically recommended. The July business meeting was canceled until the June business meeting or special meeting, and no additional feedback was given. HBO staff agrees that pressure-treated lumber for retaining boxes are not typically recommended since they are too similar to railroad ties, which is not appropriate site work and landscaping under IBC guidelines, page 15. Staff recommends the commissioners continue application to allow applicant time to look into alternative materials to install the retaining beds in the front of the property, as well as the retaining box around the tree in the rear. Basis of staff rec is 311613, standard for site improvements, short north design guidelines, site work and landscaping, page 342, and Italian Village guidelines, site work and landscaping, page 15.
Do you have anything to add?
No, I guess I just not sure what we recommend if we want those replaced. I think we were just, trying to meet the commission's objectives, to protect the tree last year. So we, we just had our landscaper put those on and he went ahead and just matched it in the front. I guess we didn't realize there was an alternative, material we can use that's would be better recommended, I guess.
Okay. Brooke, do you want to start?
I would say that I could live with this around the tree, but not the front. But I think that if you look around the neighborhood, it's typically brick or maybe stone of some sort of granite. I would defer to Commissioner Trot with her opinion on that, but I think the front bed enclosure is not appropriate.
Yeah.
But I get
Just the material, but if it was brick, that would be okay? Or
I would be okay with brick.
We recommend that? Okay.
Commissioner Trot?
I agree. I think brick would be better. It just looks really contemporary. It looks nice, but not for this neighborhood. So I think I agree with brick or stone, and brick's probably going to be a lot less expensive. I don't know. The one thing I was saying or thinking about, and I don't know if I mentioned this last time, is, and this is just to help you as these boxwoods start to grow, is they're so close to the fence that, typically what you would do is you would put those halfway between the front and the back of that area, so they didn't.
I'm not sure that I didn't plan them, but I'll have to go look and see where they're.
What's that?
I didn't plan them, so I'm not sure where they were.
Yeah.
They're not in the middle of the bed.
And I don't think that's anything that we're gonna require you to do, but I
But as
just
I
think
grow.
for your own sake, those ones that are by the iron fence, those are gonna start growing back into it, and the others are just gonna kind of, what's behind where the brick little columns are, they'll die. So the backside of it will die. So that's up to you, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know on the tree in the back, again, whoever does these for you, it looks really nice, but then I wonder how heavy that material is, because roots don't like to be impeded or have something really heavy on them. And if it's like a 4x4 or something, that's gonna rest on that root and keep, things come up from the roots under the ground and up into the tree. And sometimes trees can die when that happens.
Sure. Well, that's one thing why we try to build that, to protect the tree from, the soil going anywhere, from anybody bumping into it.
So, but the thing is, if that piece of wood, and I don't know because I don't have any details and I can't really tell by this photo, that if it's a heavy piece of wood laying on top of a root, it's gonna hurt the tree. And
Yeah.
then instead of doing all these things to protect the tree is gonna be gone. So one thing that you can do is like a grade beam. So you have the beam hits the ground here. We'll call these boards beams, and then the beam hits on the other side of the root. And then there's something that's just light and raised above that. It's not heavy.
Okay, so true.
So without knowing, what that is, I just really want this beautiful tree of yours
Sure.
to stay there.
Oh, we love the tree as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just agree with the other commissioners, and I think like staff said, per the guidelines, the wood planter in the front is just against the IBC guidelines, so a brick or a stone would do the trick as well. But I don't have anything else to add.
Just sort of build a brick one around the back, or is that still gonna be too heavy around the?
So we can't tell you exactly what to do. But yes, I'm not comfortable with either treatment in the front or the back.
We're taking, I mean, this is all coming out in a few more days, they're excavating for the pool, so we're gonna have to make plans to redo that, so this, we just need, I guess.
So I think what you should do is come back to us with plans for the front and the back, working with staff and using the guidelines that are located within the Italian Village Historic Guidelines, which will tell you that it should be brick or stone for both.
Okay.
And you can submit an application for that. We can continue this application or not approve it, or
Yeah, we can continue this, and if there's revisions made on your part.
I mean, I think in brick, that's not
Be
a problem.
updated.
I just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to get this done. Problem is, this was a result of a code violation back in 2017. It's continued on for 6 years now. I've been to court 15 times, and the judge is like screaming once this out of his court. He's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I've
And so-
been doing this with you since 2017.
So it's so challenging and just like, we can't close one, open a new one, and they're like, so it's like, we're trying to get it resolved and,
I would say, don't do anything again, ever, without
Yeah.
coming to staff, beforehand, any little thing. But I think that if you all are okay with that, I think that that's the best course of action for us to continue this
I mean, I have
application.
lots and lots of bricks because we changed some of the back there, so I've got
Be great.
pallets of the old bricks that we could possibly build that with. I just need to, we've got a great brick mason now, so
Just make sure to work with staff and get approval from us before you have him
sure.
start on set. Because as Commissioner Trott said, especially in the back, we're gonna need to understand where the roots are and how that's laying on top of them so that we don't kill that tree by trying.
So I'm afraid that the brick's gonna require some type of foundation or something for the back. I don't know if that's gonna be easily possible.
I think that that's what, work with your, then maybe it's stone, maybe it is end up wood, but I think we can't really dictate that to you right now.
If it isn't possible to do in brick or stone, it's gonna
Well,
hurt.
Richard Gillen would dig down and build a foundation out of concrete that the brick would stand on.
Yeah,
And
so.
that's gonna hurt, I think that'll hurt the roots even
Right,
more.
all of those things have to come into play, you're right. And so I think that if you just try to do your best to accurately draw the profile of that tree, and, then to say, okay, where are the least number of kind of footings or something that we could use. I don't think brick or stone is going to help you here. I
Right.
think you're gonna have to do wood to keep it light and not hurt the tree.
It's pretty light, and I mean, you can see they're laying on the blacktop and the concrete on the one end, so it's on the concrete pad on the blacktop on the side, and sitting on the pavers. So
It's
almost just
clearly
kind of,
sitting
yeah, it's okay.
up the tree and it's clearly tree.
Always on the, okay.
I mean, so I think that you're gonna go back and have staff look at it and tell us it's not pressure treated.
Yeah, well, that's definitely pressure, we didn't want it to rot,
That's heavy, so.
Yeah.
Would the commission be agree possibly with maybe recommending to the applicant about maybe an arborist coming out and just looking at the tree too as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah.
Possibly. would
That's
that be-
it. Arborists
Okay.
are worth their weight in gold.
Sure. Maybe I've got,
Then he can give you a plan and you
Sure.
can bring that.
Recommendations. Because he also will look at the route distribution with the cars and things.
sure.
You have to leave at least 2/3 of the routes kind of undisturbed for the tree to be okay.
Right, it's an urban tree in a concrete jungle there, so it's,
I know,
so
I know.
we got the same problem. I've got 3 trees on another property over on Summit, the same way, they've really been there for hundreds of years and they're fairly invasive, and one fell in the neighbor's house, but the neighbors want to walk it down, we love them, but the arborist is like, what do you want to do, so.
And see, he can tell you if that tree has 5 years to go or 25, which makes a big difference in how we look at it too. So that would be really helpful to us.
All right, I think we've spent a lot of time.
Yeah, never know what the solution is.
Do you need a motion for, continue?
Okay. I move that we continue 03 IV-23-06-008. And with the idea that the material in the front of the house will change from wood to either stone or brick materials as approved by Italian Village, and that the applicant has an arborist take a look at the tree and make recommendations for how to protect cars from driving over the roots.
Second,
Sorry.
all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, application for IV 2307-016, 295 East Fifth. All right, can I have you both raise your right hand, state your name for the record?
Michelle Cordell?
Haley Cordell. You tell us where the whole truth, to the best of your ability this evening?
Yes.
Thank you, staff.
Proposed work description. Application is a response to an active code violation. It is to retain the security lighting installed on the north and south elevation of garage, install black gooseneck light fixtures to garage as per previous approval, to retain existing unapproved light fixtures on the main home, to retain single light attic window on north elevation in lieu of the approved 1/1, IV 20-01017, retain finished roof as is without metal ridge roll or ridge venting, and to keep unapproved hat vent. Change faceplate on the rear south elevation porch from existing vertical board material to what was previously approved in 2020, IV 21-01017. Add in flower bed between east walkway and garage. Retain custom-made 4-panel wood door on front north elevation in lieu of a glazed door. Retain installed horizontal wood fence that has been painted black. Change the wood detailing on the front north elevation bay window per previous approval. Retain existing dormer and siding cover foundation. The siding that's covering the foundation in the rear south elevation is to be removed to allow proper exposure of the foundation for the rear addition, as seen in the approved drawing. Application for a new garage addition, construction, and existing alterations or exterior alterations to the main house was approved in January 2020. The property had returned to the commission due to a code violation in April 2022, which was reviewed and continued. The original COA from 2020 was then reviewed in May of 2022 with confirmation by the IV Commission to approve the renewal. The following is taken from the approved April 12th, 2022 minutes. I'm just going to touch on some elements that have pertained to this application so far. Door and transom. Some commissioners think the former door is thin and would be okay with replacing with the new door that follows the guidelines. Former door is restorable but are open to approving an appropriate door. Applicant will need to resubmit front door cut sheets. For the windows, some commissioners noted original style, dimensions of casing for windows and doors should be installed. Some commissioners were okay with installing just the top casing to better match the approved drawings, but they would need to see the proposal. And windows will need to match original configuration and sizes. Additionally, for the dormer as built will have water issues, supportive of taking dormer out, rebuilding to match drawings. And for the fencing and lighting, commissioners are generally okay with the privacy fence of the horizontal fencing. May need to modify to make sure posts do not rise above and proposed paint or opaque stain. HPO staff was notified by the code officer on April 21st. 2023 about additional alterations made on the property from the previous approval. A site visit was scheduled to view the changes and was held on April 26th. Staff identified the following changes or unresolved conditions from the previous approval in April 2022, which was discussed with the owner of the property and sent via email. The south elevation garage doors have changed from the previous approval. Per guidelines, we recommend having 2 separate garage doors or the look of 2 separate, which was present in the most recent approval with trim pieces applied to create that appearance. The doors will need to come back to commission for review. The lighting on the garage, previous approval was for the gooseneck light fixtures. These have currently changed and will need to come back to commission. Lighting fixtures on the main home were not originally finalized or approved and will need to go back to commission. Window casings or trim currently does not match what was previously approved. The 3rd floor attic window on the front elevation appears to be single pane in comparison to the approved 1/1 window that matches the other windows on the home. 2nd floor window on south elevation appears to be a different size to the previous approval. Approved roof was to have metal ridge roll, which is not present on the property. A new half vent was installed, which was not approved. We typically recommend installing ridge venting underneath the ridge roll for proper ventilation. South elevation fascia or faceplate on porch remains the same and does not match approved drawings. Applicant is rectifying that with that. component. The hardscaping portion to the east of the garage has changed from the previous approval. We do not see this being an issue modification, but listing it since it does not match the stamp drawings. The front door has changed from previous approval, will need to be reviewed by the commission. Fence has changed as well, but the commission seemed to be fine with it at the last review. Staff recommends approval of application as submitted with any all clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to issuance. I lost my page, hang on one second, apologies about that. And the conditions include south elevation garage door to be changed to 2 separate doors or to have the appearance of 2 separate with an applied trim piece as previously approved. Final manufacturer product that was used to be submitted to HBO staff. Add the correct trim detailing around all windows per the recommended sizing within the guidelines in City Code 311611. Attic window on the north elevation to be the approved 1/1 to match the other existing window configurations. Second floor south elevation window to match the previously approved sizing. The removal of half vent on roof and to install appropriate ridge venting as well as ridge roll, which was previously approved. And for the front door to be a half light as was previously approved and installed on the property. Basis of staff rec is 311604, certificate required, 311611, standards for alteration. And that is all. Thank you. Thank you.
Great, do you have anything to add?
No, I have pictures and I'm here, like I said, my contractor was not able to come, so I'm gonna try to get through this as best as I can to understand it. So.
Okay, can I, for clarification?
Yes.
I got lost for a second here.
I have
There was a
pictures of some things too. I don't know if they're on here.
We'll see as we go through them.
Okay.
I remember you being here, we talked about the dormer.
Mhm.
Changes have been made since that hearing, or just nothing has happened since then?
No, changes have been made.
Yes, I was gonna say from our site visit, yes. There were some concerns about how the dormer was attached to the roof line, just for, water issues for the future. But it had changed. It wasn't exactly what was approved, but it had changed. It was fixed. Yeah, it's been fixed, so.
Okay, so this is basically your list of the items that you think still need to be done and your recommendation is like kind of what's left after them being here the first time.
Yes, we were just listing everything that was seen to have changed since the last time. And the applicant has revised some things to coincide with our recommendations, such as the porch on the back. The siding that's over the foundation and things of that nature. So there's some changes for the positive here on that.
Would you like us to go through your recommendations one by one?
Yes,
Is that easier?
I think so.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So the
So,
major changes.
I have to say, it's a little bit confusing to me. I can see that somebody's worked really hard to try to make it clear, putting the cloud around and then
That was
putting a
me.
note.
Yeah.
If that would be-
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. You need clarification.
But what's not clear is if, in all these cases, if this has been completed or if this is still an item that needs to be addressed.
so I think that that's where we're gonna start right
Okay.
here, under staff recommended conditions.
Great.
So we've got, looks like we have 6 items.
On the agenda.
And where is?
Um, Since both of these keep crashing on me, I'm now using 2.
The recommendation should be under the staff report.
Yeah, like I'm looking at the staff report.
Okay. I'll look at that.
The items listed on the agenda or what the applicant is proposing to retain or fix from what was discussed.
Okay. Has everyone found 6 items?
I see room 6.
We've got all that, but then when you say, when it says staff recommended conditions, then there's 3, or there's 6 bullets after that. There,
Okay, that's it.
I don't know, because you're in a Word document.
Yeah, but it's the same thing as the PDF. I used to do that so I could.
That's the agenda though, right?
Yeah.
We're also trying to pull up the staff report for this, just to hopefully help.
Okay.
reports. Oh, like, next steps.
I have that.
I think I got them. They're bullets. They're not numbered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to look at mine?
Each side of a page.
It's on
It's on the screen now.
4 of the staff report.
Oh. It's on the screen.
Yeah.
Are you
Okay.
good with starting with this list instead of what's on the agenda?
6, do you mean, it's on, it's 3 up there. I guess that's where I was getting.
I mean, see,
Oh,
oh wait, where are you?
I somewhere weird.
No, you're in the right side. You're just on the wrong tab. Wrong staff report.
I do.
I can also list out each one and
Yeah,
discuss it from
that
there,
would
if
be
that works, yeah.
Yeah, because it's just not showing up on this another report.
No worries at all.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, yep.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the garage door.
Okay.
Um,
Do we have to read out the recommendation?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns, okay. So the south elevation garage door, we recommend to change it to either 2 separate doors or to have the appearance of the 2 separate with the applied trim as previously approved. The door manufacturer that's on there currently is not the same that was approved at the time. So we would just recommend it to have the same appearance of the 2 separate garage doors.
so that's the existing. The photo is the existing.
Yeah, that is what
And
it's
I
on
have,
currently.
it came with handles, but I don't know if you're allowed to use this now, so I either, the garage guy did say either I could do some type of paint or possible like vinyl to make it look like separate doors.
We
I'm not
typically,
sure how you would go about doing that without changing the doors.
It's,
You have a suggestion?
sorry, Commissioner Burgess.
you go for
Okay.
it. We're saying the same thing.
Typically, it's being a veneer, not a vinyl. So it'll be like a thin wood applied to the surface to give kind of the illusion of 2 separate doors.
Okay. Could that be colored, black as
Yeah.
well?
So you could do, can't remember if it's been, I can't remember which one, but wood or something of the sorts, and then you can paint it after an appropriate peak color to match what's there.
And
If that's what you're.
did you say that you can't use the handles now?
No,
we
we're
were talking about that?
Yeah, unless it's the functioning handle, the faux handles we don't recommend, because it gives a
Okay.
false representation.
So it just needs to basically have the veneers to give it that look. Okay.
If that was what you're.
Yeah. So does anyone have any issues with that alternative rather than having them create 2 new garage doors?
I'm okay with the finish.
It's a big door is the issue, and that's what we're trying to get away from. If this is something that you've seen that gives the illusion of 2 doors, then I don't have a problem with it. But I think what we're trying to get away from is making sure that it isn't one huge door like that.
We typically recommend that for certain turning radiuses for garages, so if they need to have a full-length door for a 2-car garage, we have that as an alternative. If I'm speaking for, but that depends on the turning radius. In this situation, if the door's installed, we'd be fine with the applied veneer.
Do you have anything?
I don't think that's a great idea, but given the expense of buying a new garage door, if staff is okay with applied trim on this door and there's enough clearance so that when it goes up, it's not
Yeah,
gonna
we'd have
pop
to-
up.
Yeah, out there to check that.
This is a tough one, but I guess if you've seen this done before and it works,
We have I'm not sure with this manufacturer, that also is something to consider too. I'm not sure if that's gonna be able to happen with this type of door, but we have seen it for other situations. And that's been the product itself having that kind of illusion of the 2 doors, so.
Yeah.
I would say that could be a possibility. I think one thing about this door as it is right now is that it looks like it's a high gloss paint. I'd probably knock down the sheen a little bit
Okay.
to make it, the trim read a little better and not be in such no contrast zone, you know, if you could do that. I could buy that, but I hope somebody else says no. Really painful.
Well, so, and this is then conditional that it does work, that you can apply something, the
Right.
door will operate on those kinds of things. But I do think cutting down the sheen on it, and going to a set.
How do you go about doing that? Would it have to be repainted? Do you have to
Yeah.
just repaint it? And
Yeah,
so
you
it's
just put
like
another-
not as shiny?
Yeah, it's satin or eggshell, something like that. Probably satin. Also,
Yeah.
right.
I think since staff made that recommendation, I am fine with trying that if that works. If it doesn't, it's gonna have to go to 2 doors. You don't have any clearance issues like what staff is talking about is we do this often if it's an alley that you cannot turn into 2 different doors. You have to have that width. You clearly don't have that issue of the driveway. I also, what do you all think about doing 2 goosenecks instead of 1? Would probably help.
Yeah.
What is that?
Installing 2 goosenecks.
Oh, I
instead-
did that already. So I have pictures of that.
But you have 2 goosenecks above the garage now.
He put him like right on the side. I was wanting to keep the motion detector if that's possible though, just due to the nature of the area down there. There is still some crime down there. So, but I have the picture of the goosenecks if you'd like to see them.
Yeah.
I did that on the front garage and the back.
Copy.
Sir.
No, okay, so when we talk about, goosenecks, the 2 goosenecks is, you know, if you're looking at it's right here, is what we're talking about.
So you have to have them above the garage versus on the side?
Yes.
Okay.
So since it's 2 separate garage doors as it's made to look in this drawing, but it's really 1 garage door, so that would be centered over what is intended to be a single garage door.
Okay.
And I frankly would move your motion detector up under the eave so that it's not visible so much and it can still be angled out to catch the motion.
This is when you have a pitched gable roof. That part of the end that stands out is the eave.
And that's typically where you find motion sensor lights in these types of structures.
Yes, you could, right, exactly.
Yeah, right where staff is pointing right here.
Right. I understand.
I just realized that. Do you want us to split these into A, B, C, D?
Yes, we can
Okay.
definitely do it that way too, just to go over it, see if there are items to be approved or continue to.
Goosenecks look really small.
Yeah, they're also not the right size goosenecks.
You redo those too. Yeah,
Yeah, they're really small.
I would go with what you've got on your, that the goosenecks that were approved in your original application are what you probably should be utilizing. Okay, do we have a motion for the garage door? Anyone?
Commissioner Burgess, before
Yes.
we begin,
Mhm.
maybe we go through the items and then we can split it from there to see what.
Okay.
Does that work? So we don't
Yeah. Yes, that would be better. It might be faster.
if that works for.
So now we are on trim detailing around the windows. Do we have anything from you all?
Well, that's where I was gonna come back and ask you, because I know the commissioner, the commission last time said that they may be okay with just doing the trim along the top, the decorative trim. So is that okay? And if so, what exactly is it supposed to look like? I mean, I know I have drawings, but what is,
I will have one of the 2 architects begin this discussion.
Yeah, I was gonna try to go back to the previously approved drawing set. Cause I'm assuming there's trim details somewhere, yeah, within the drawing set.
Well, they'd also mentioned either maybe possibly just doing the sill on the bottom, so I was a little confused by the last meeting as to how to do it before I do it. I want to know exactly what I need to do.
What commissioner made that comment?
I'm not sure. This was reviewed when Jacqueline Lehman was staff, so I was not here for,
Okay.
that first review.
I see it just does it. It just goes back.
Could we just say that there is a tolerance that if they are within a half an inch or an inch or something, maybe an inch is too much, but of the trim around all of the windows, then something like that could be acceptable.
So is it around all of the windows, or I thought it was just the top and bottom of the window?
Well, I think it would matter all the way around if it's significant. That's what I'm trying to say. So if they're all close and there's not an issue on the side trim pieces, then
Just for basic
they're
details.
close. But if one's 4 and then there's another one that's next to it and it's 6, and so it's obvious that they're not matching. And then that there be one style of trim at the top. And I think it's similar things at the bottom. It's so hard to know without, I mean, I know we've got some photos here. Let's see.
Can you do a split screen so we can look at an existing window trim next to the drawing?
Possibly. We'll figure that out. Is the nail on the case.
Because like, do you see what we're saying? Your top and your bottom are not.
Because like I'm
Yeah, I
looking,
do see the top and the bottom. I didn't know there had to be something along the side, though.
oh yeah. But you see on the windows on the side of the window. So there's trim all the way around the window. And so there's the side pieces, the top lintel piece, and then the sill at the bottom.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at your front door and that trim looks really thin around the front door. And it looks thinner. I'm not looking at this one. Do you want to go up to that? It's
Yeah, the door's later.
Okay, well, how about their trim though?
We'll get to that.
Okay, because see how, that's a good example to look at that and to just see, oh, here's, trim that's probably 2.5 or 3 inches or something, next to trim that's 4 or 4.5. So you want to avoid that. You want all of the trim pieces to be the same. The lintel pieces at the top should be the same, as well as the.
Well, you're saying so the trims on each window
On each
are
window.
not.
What you have right now looks like a picture frame around the window, rather than sideboards, and then, for lack of a better word, a built-up head on the window that has it looks like in the drawing that it has 2 boards and then a little trim cap with probably a little bit of flashing or something.
So if you look at drawing 7, you can see exactly what.
Will this all be all in the notes so my contractor can?
Yes.
Okay.
We can send you an example. We actually recently just had an application where they had to follow the trim from the guidelines. So we can send you that same example as well. That gives you the exact sizing of the trim. That is recommended.
Yeah, I think the biggest importance is that the top of your window trim
Mhm.
is larger in width. The sides of your trim are the skinnier, and then the sill is normally skinny as well. So it gives weight to that, the top of your window trim. But in the guidelines, there is, I believe, some specific dimensions to the width of the sides of your window trim and the top itself.
Okay.
And that is typically 3 inches on the side and then 5 inches on the top, your grip edge, and then the decorative profile that is to go in between the header portion and the drip edge. But I can send those to you when we get to a final decision for that one.
The drawings look correct.
Yeah, if you follow again, your approved drawings. This is where,
Yeah, and if you look at that. See, I mean, it looks like possibly, looks like some of the windows are done correctly and some of them might not be. That's kind of hard.
and I think that's where we heard you only need to do it on some, just
Mhm.
because some are correct and some are not, so.
Yeah.
Just needs to be consistent. All right, let's move beyond this, because I think we're just gonna go with, the general recommendation from staff for that. Attic window on the north elevation, it's not a 1/1 right now.
Mhm. No, it's not.
It's,
So I'm just gonna say that window needs replaced to be with a 1/1 for staff recommendation, unless you all have additional comments on that.
Why is that though? I mean, why can't you use a single pane, just may I ask?
It's just not standard in our guidelines for historic home. We would not use a single pane,
Okay,
It's more contemporary.
gotcha.
and this is a historic structure. So if this was a new build, that might be different. That wasn't in the style of historic home.
So it needs to be a double pane window.
Then it needs to be a 1/1 window.
It's just like a, like, kind of.
It's a single hung window, yeah.
it'll match the same configuration as what's existing on the.
All right, second floor, south elevation window. So it looks like we have a different size window was installed than what was approved.
Yes, so that is, sorry, I misplaced my paper. So yeah, the second floor south elevation, that's on the rear. The original drawing has a larger sized window that matches the sizing of the other windows. The window that is on there currently looks like it has been downsized for the previous approval.
Can we see that on the screen, please?
There we go. We don't have the rear, so we'll have to kind of flip back and forth. Apologies, we can't do the split screen between materials.
I have the picture if you want us to do that.
I think there we go. That's that right there. Yeah, just stay on that. Okay, so it's shorter.
I think it looks like it's been flipped from what I can see. It looks like the bottom should have been shorter and the top should have been larger.
Which one are we?
You go back.
So when, in the drawings, and what they've done is they've just reversed it. They put the smaller one on the top.
Oh, I see.
And the larger one on the side.
on the left.
Yes.
It is bad.
I mean, would that be okay to keep it that way to?
The proportion also of that top one, I'm curious if that's in line with what you're saying is that first floor window.
Can we have that photo? Because you had, that's without the fence, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Is William these plans, these drawings? It's hard to even tell.
Even, I mean, the windows would generally match all the way around. I mean, if you're in a room, you're gonna see, you look at one wall, it's gonna be a certain size, you look at this wall, it's gonna be in, the same size. So, and if we had more pictures or.
I'm just saying in the actual drawing though, the original, it looks to have the smaller on the bottom and the larger on the top.
Right, they clearly they flipped the install. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, that's what happened. It's just incredible that that was even possible with existing window openings.
And I've had like
So
so much
this-
like contractors.
Oh, this is an addition?
Yes, this
Okay.
portion is new in addition, so.
That makes so much more sense. I was like, no, they just really.
And if I'm correct, that's
Lots
an
of extra
extra
work
work
there.
Yeah, so that was an addition and so that's a newer
Got it.
portion, newer.
So the reason we're saying that is historic window openings are framed on the inside of your home. So if you're to change their size,
Oh.
it actually costs a lot of money to either widen them
Okay,
or
okay.
shorten them.
Would it be okay though to keep them that way, just to have the larger one on the bottom?
I'm gonna allow the architects to.
So this is on the
This is on
back
the
of your
addition.
That's on the back of
which
it.
is helping you and on another edition, which is also helping. What was staff's recommendation on this one? Do you know?
We were just recommending to be the appropriate, or the approved size of the original drawings.
So replacing it.
Yeah, to replace it, of course, that is up to the commission's discretion.
This is a tough one. Because
It's not tough for me.
You're now.
what do you think?
I think it should be changed.
Yeah.
But there's some, it's the flatness of that elevation becomes very apparent with that smaller window up at the top. It's just like it's missing the detail that had that been, a part of this house or even sympathetic to the original house, it would have more detail, I think. And so I would suggest flipping them. And while they're doing it, put the right trim on it, and that'll give it more depth and texture on that elevation.
I also want to make sure that bottom one is actually proportional to the drawing, that bottom window, because it's almost hard to tell from the photo because of the angle, but redo it, make sure that that's actually the height and width that was approved in these drawings.
And I would personally be okay with the bottom windows staying large. It's just the top window also needs to be,
That's
would too.
that's a good compromise.
yeah. So it's, you can keep that bottom window, but that top window's just gotta,
Needs to be larger.
Match the drawing.
that's like a kitchen window in your bedrooms.
Right.
And that could be a code issue with egress.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that actually fire might not be okay with that window if they ever.
Can't tell if there's another window. Looks like there might be another.
Well, there's the
window.
door onto the porch, so maybe that counts.
Oh, that definitely would count.
Yeah,
It's better than a window, but still.
Well, they both have doors actually, though.
Yeah, but the bedroom has the door that you can get.
Yeah, so you don't need an egress window. But I agree with, keep the lower one and, make the upper one bigger.
I do too.
So
okay.
50.
Venting, remove hat vent on roof. It's all
I
appropriate.
don't know why they even did that. I did not even know they did that, honestly.
Yeah, so here's the thing, like, so she is not, we hired contractors and
Two
gave them
contractors.
the exact plans. So I'm wondering, how do we go about this with the contractors that didn't follow the plans?
So I mean, the time and money that you're spending addressing this is a lawsuit on your behalf.
Exactly, so how do we get all this information collected to say that, to go to them and say you did not follow any of these plans that were given to you?
And I
That's
did
what-
give them everything from the last meeting as well. So
Yeah,
they-
so what, you'll get it again after this.
Okay.
So we're gonna go through this, we're gonna say yes, no, yes, no. She's gonna give you a written report again, you're gonna bring that back to them and say, do it,
Okay.
or,
Yeah, because,
Because this is all that I'm like way in it from this house.
yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
It really is.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare.
Okay.
okay, front door. I think that is also just a replace. The ridge vent is, yeah, ridge vent just needs, that's not appropriate. And then the front door is also not appropriate.
Well, that we did have some showings at one time. It's not on the market any longer to get all this fixed. But that was the main complaint was the noise, which I understand if you're moving downtown, people have to realize there's gonna be noise down there. But I just thought this was a better buffer and safer, and it was so hard to find the glass with the 3 panels in it. I mean, I looked everywhere for a door like that. I just think this is one of the doors that is approved through Italian Village from what I had on here. She gave me several different
it's-
doors.
That is within the guidelines, but during review, from what I can recollect from the previous materials from the past staff is, and also from the commissioner's comments, is that commission was on agreement of replacing with a similar door, which would be the
Right.
half light with panels. Even though this is from the approved, within the guidelines, it's still the recommendation to replace in kind, so same kind of style.
So you wouldn't be able to allow me to keep that door though, just,
That's up to the commission. That's our recommendation, is to replace in kind style with a half light and panel door with what was there previously. Additionally, a lot of other properties, I believe, have the half light door along the
it's a
street.
solid wood door that I custom made for it.
I will again defer to the architect.
This is a tough one, I think, because I think the half light would be nicer. For you, just to have that extra light coming in, I understand the security issue, but I really think,
And noise issue, I feel like that helps a
And
little bit.
the noise issue, it shouldn't be any worse with that door than it is with this one. But when you look at this and you think you've got a window right there, and somebody can break that glass, so it becomes a whole, kind of ball of wax to see these things happen. I would say, doors that you could have had made custom, it's a really nice one. So I think because it does fit the guidelines, I would be tempted to say it's okay. Thank you. But I'm only one person.
Paige?
Yeah, I think initially we would always defer to, replacing a historic door like for like. So in this situation, I'll agree with Carla or Commissioner Trump.
You could go make it.
Well, I will be the contrary one and say that I think it should have the half glass as the original door did. I think you might have an easier time possibly finding a door with a half light and then 2 panels below rather than 3, as the original door was possibly, and I think that would be okay. But I do think even from a safety perspective, to be able to see who's on the other side of the door, I think is another reason that I think that going with the original type of door with glazing in it would be a better alternative than this.
There are there are doors that are pretty heavy that
Yeah.
I live in the village. I have a half light. It's heavier than my windows. So and it is a 2 panel underneath, which it is easier to find. I'm sure it was installed before I owned the house without approval, but I have to go in this one. But so
What we do.
this one we're gonna just have to pull out of the other ones we agree with. So the position we're in is not that we don't want to help you. It's that we have other applicants who, we had one right before you, who also are experiencing code violations, and we have to ensure that we, aren't being capricious with our decision making. So we just have to be standard, and you have a right to appeal our decisions as well. So know that we're not trying to do this.
How do you appeal, like, just even something like that?
Staff will be able to give you that information.
So appeal process, it can come back to the commission. That can be something for financial hardship or can't remember off the top of my head. Apologies about that. There's a mediation. There's also a board of commission of appeals. If things are denied, if we do go that process, I'll recommend another, process forward as well. If it does get denied, commission will state reasons for denial, and then we will send you an appeal application listing other important information to follow that, and then we can go through that process. What we could also do is if there are some elements of this that the commission is undecided on or split, we can continue that to allow for more time to consider different avenues for maybe the door or something like that. But we can also go through the list that we've just discussed. And if you're amenable to those changes, we can approve that here now or continue in that step. So those are the kind of the three options of continuing some, approving some, or potentially going through all in denial with that.
I don't think I've gotten anything approved yet.
Yes, but that ends, that process of going through for appeals and things.
So what I see on my screen here is that we've got the first 5 bullets are things that I think the commission agrees upon. And that could be a motion A from one of you. And then motion B can be the front door. And you all can choose for both of those motions whether or not you would like us to vote or continue. So can I run through the first guy?
I should have been taking notes. I think I should be.
Am I allowed running through the first guy?
Yeah. I can as well.
Yeah, why don't,
Fine. Yeah, that's fine. The first one is the the garage door. Christian was fine, it seemed to be fine with the applied veneer to show the separation of 2 garage doors. As long as it works functionally with the garage door that's there with clearance as well. And if, you were okay with that, that as well, Michelle, then that's something that can be moved to approval. Yeah.
See what I can do.
And a lower gloss paint.
In the lower glass paint as well. The other condition for approval is to move the goosenecks above the garage doors, as well as to replace them with a larger gooseneck that was seen in the previous approval. And I'm just running through the list of things, correct, Commissioner Fergus? Yeah, what we just said. And the condition as well for the trim to follow the recommended guidelines on sizing. For the window on the north elevation to be replaced with a 1/1. For the south elevation window, 2nd story, to be installed with the appropriate size window from the previous approval. And for the ridge venting to be installed, the hat vent to be removed, and the ridge roll to be installed as well.
Morgan, can we add to the first?
So the ridge vent does need to be removed
Venting.
for hat vent, I'm sorry.
Yes, one second. Apologies. Yes, Commissioner.
Can we also add to the first, number 1, to move the security light to the uppermost part of the,
To the peak.
yes.
Yes. Thank you, I did. And then Michelle, what was your question? I apologize.
Did we get to the hat vent yet, or are we still on that?
I believe the consensus, if I could speak, the mission was to remove the hat vents. It's not appropriate, and we do not allow or recommend hat vents and to install ridge venting, if I'm correct, with the ridge rolls. That's a typical standard under 31-16-11 standards for alteration.
I hate to bring this up, but I've been waiting to see when the trim finishes at the bottom of the porch and the raised porch and the lower porch just off the ground. Is that not something we're looking at, or was that resolved?
They say took that off, right?
Okay.
The foundation.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
What this is,
We're in round 2 of this.
This has been taken off.
for the front, the drawing shows horizontal boards rather than vertical. Panel.
That was, is that in the front or the back?
The back has been or will be resolved.
I
Correct.
I already did the horizontal in the back.
So the horizontal 2nd story porch has been resolved to be
Yeah, these
vertical, but the front porch, I'm not sure.
So in the drawing, we had vertical, and it's currently horizontal, or it's?
No, it's vertical, but in the back, it was supposed to be, the back also had vertical and they wanted horizontal and yeah, and we
Balcony
changed
in the
that.
back.
No, we did the top in the, I believe the bottom.
Okay.
Oh, I see, there just aren't stairs shown.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right, are we? So whose motion was that? You don't have to repeat it. You just have to claim it.
I move that we approve staff recommendations for 04-1 IV-23-07-016. As
With those conditions.
delineated by staff.
I would say items A through E since that was endorsed.
Items A through E.
So with the conditions of items A through E.
With the conditions of items A through E.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So the last thing we have is the door, and we can either continue that or we vote on it, and it looks like it would be an automatic denial if you have 2-2.
Oh, if it's a split, it's a denial. then.
Yeah. So you can come back with that. You can wait until there are more commissioners present. We're at our lowest.
So would that be
capacity.
like at the next meeting? I could come back with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
All the other ones need to be changed.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll probably do that with the door then, because I feel strongly about that. It's fire safety, because I just do.
So can I have a motion to continue item F?
Yes, motion, do I have to see the number of this item still? Or just motion to continue item F?
So these are the only things I have left to.
Yeah,
present. Okay.
and the door once we get there.
Yes, and then the
Yes,
door.
once we,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, do I have a second on that? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. And Michelle will send you, of course, the listed items that we discussed, for your record. Which will be what you see. Or sense of approval. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
Thank you for
that one. All right.
I can't get it to pull up.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, I can see the title of it though. Application 5 IV 230717, 36 East Lincoln.
Commissioner Burgess, were those two candles not working for you?
Let me try this one now.
That's very strange, yeah.
Friday at Wi-Fi spot.
I know, like,
Yeah.
you can see it, so that's
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like a third.
We do have one, so.
No,
But
Um,
just in case if that one does. That is very strange, yeah.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? State your name for the record.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Green.
Do you sort of tell the whole truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Great, thank you.
Right, install new blade sign on the southwest corner. Sign materials and dimensions to be 3 feet by 3 feet 5 inches by 3 feet 5 inches. Frame to be aluminum and to be painted black. Sign face to be 1 inch high density urethane with routed graphic. Surface painted warm gray C with routed portion painted black. 3 inch by 6 inch by 1/4 inch aluminum tube with 1 foot 8 inch by 1 foot mounting plate. Lighting to be a neon blaze LED along inside perimeter of aluminum framing of the sign, and sign to be located 10 feet 8 inches above grade. The building for the proposed blade sign will be installed on a new construction building that was recently approved. Applicants submitted an application on June 6th with a 14.08 square foot sign with internal illumination. HPO staff have following recommendations. The maximum allowable are for projecting sign, which will be supported in 12 square feet. If illuminated signs may only be externally illuminated and may only use light fixtures that prevent light spillage onto adjacent properties. Preferred use of neon lighting is an element within a sign cabinet, such as for lettering, as well as for halo or backlighting, radiating from behind the letters. We do not typically recommend internally illuminated cabinet signs and we recommend halo lit instead. Applicants submitted revised drawings to reduce the sign to be within the allowable 12 square feet. Staff recommended that due to the design and type of proposed lighting, it would need to go to the commission for review. Staff recommends to continue application IV 2307-017 to allow applicant time to look at additional design and illuminating options for proposed blade sign. Basis of staff rec is shortboard design guidelines, page 3.37, 3.41 signage, and 3116-13 standards for site improvement.
All right, do you have anything to add?
I think that the sticking point is the lighting, of the sign. And this sign was specifically designed so that the lighting is just on the very edge of the sign so that it is reflecting off only the sign frame and not the entire face of the sign. So it's not illuminating the face of the sign, but just the frame of the sign. It was the sign company's understanding that that would satisfy the halo lighting requirements that were discussed. And that we did try to modify the sign for shape or for size. It is a similar kind of sign that's in that area. I guess that's all I have to say at this point.
Okay, who wants to start?
I can. I like the design of this a lot. I mean, their signs are so similar throughout the area, and it's so nice to see something different. So it's really different.
It is a different design.
Yeah, and I think the squiggles hitting the letters the way they do and all of that, I think is great. I don't have a problem with this kind of reduced internal lighting if that's something that can be controlled and is, in the way that you're showing us in the rendering. One thing I would just say in general is I think it's really difficult to read the letters because the font just seems too small to me or something. Either the thickness of those lines are so powerful that, they're overtaking that. I just wonder, especially if you look at the example, I don't know if that's just something that was constructed in Photoshop or something, but seems like you guys really want to be able to read the name. So that's.
I understand what you're saying. I do want to clarify, there is a little dimension to the face of that sign. Those black squiggle lines are actually routed out and then painted black. So there is a little dimension to the sign. This particular design is the design that the owner wants. It is already appearing on their websites and they want this design. And I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
On the letter size, but this is what they've embraced.
Maybe they like subtle.
I guess that's what we're going to say. I can't disagree with your comment. But this is what they want.
I can say that I agree with the halo lit that if it is represented from this rendering, that it's not like casting over the whole signage. I think that's appropriate for with the guidelines. And we do, I know this is a new build, but we do often try to request that any of those pre-drill holes are within mortar joints, so that in the future when things are moved around, there's no leftover damage there. So I think that will just be a condition.
Understood.
I have nothing to add. I like it.
I think this will be an experiment for the commission to see if it does in fact have a halo effect. I think that's going to be very, very important that that it looks very solid on the inside in the dark, right? That it's not lit up at all.
That's the attempt here. That's what we're attempting to do, is to have it just bouncing off the inside frame and not all washed across the face.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve IV 2307-017 1736 East Lincoln, with the condition that the fasteners are supported through the mortar joints, and not penetrating the brick.
All right, do I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
What you? I'll make that part of it. Yeah.
All right, application 6, IV 2307018, 856 Summit Street. Do we have anyone here for that? Great, can you raise your right hand, state your name for the record?
I am Tracy Parks.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you.
Right.
Proposed work description, constructing new 20-foot by 22-foot frame two-car garage with 8-foot walls. Materials to include 6-inch reveal hardy plank smooth siding, 8-12 roof pitch, 16-foot garage door, long panel design by thermocore door to be white, 4-panel steel man door to be white, roofing shingle to be certainty standard 3 tab, nickel gray, house body to be to be painted celery, trim to be painted leapfrog from Sherwin-Williams, man door light to be a Westinghouse Orson oil rubbed bronze, LED outdoor wall light, and garage overhead light to be a multi-mount warehouse barn light, 16-inch diameter, black gooseneck. A 2-car garage for this property was previously reviewed as a conceptual review during the November 2021 hearing. Following comments are taken from the approved November 09/2021 meeting. Commissioner comments, reminder to bring in finishes when ready for action. Just a few items appear to need to be tweaked based on the earlier business meeting comments. Gooseneck lights would be appropriate for garage, large enough structure that it should have 2 doors, particularly being behind a storage home. Recommend having a man door light with 2 garage doors, or 2 doors, or double door should have 2 light fixtures. Keep 2-door garages in mind when going through the process. Applicant has initially submitted in March 2023, with HBO staff having the following recommendations, requests for additional information. If possible, please submit the packet in color. We do not approve texture hardwood siding, only smooth. We would also request a clarification on size of siding we're proposing to use. Clarify which garage door design you're proposing. Proposed main door select is not appropriate style that we normally approve. We recommend selecting a door from the IBC guidelines. Ask you to submit the final shingle that you have selected from the approved list. Include the concrete apron proposed in the site plan for review the sizing. Provide the color name specification that you're proposing on using. Indicate what type of gutter that you're proposing to use, such as half-round case style OG. And also include the conceptual letter that was submitted for reference, which we included to the applicant. Applicant revised drawings based off of this feedback included the additional material information requested. Staff recommends approval of application as submitted with any clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with conditions. For the garage door selected to have the smooth finish under the service options. Eaves to be wood and not wrapped in aluminum. Bridge to be capped with a metal bridge roll, color to be either tinted red or gray. For the garage door to be either 2 garage doors instead of 1, or for the door to have the appearance of 2 separate doors if 1 door is needed for the turning radius. Basis of staff rec is 3116 standard for new construction. And that is all.
All right, who wants to start?
I can start. I think, or I agree with the staff's recommendations. One of those being what we might have heard earlier about the appearance of the 2 garage doors, and along with that, I would also recommend 2 goosenecks above that garage door instead of the one centered to also kind of enforce the 2-door look on the size of a garage. Trying to think of anything additional to staff's comments. I think you already noted that the main door itself needs to be from the approved list. So that would be a different specification than in this packet.
The applicant did revise that to be a 4 p.m. door.
Okay.
That was previously submitted. That has been revised.
And then I would just, I guess, ask if there was anything to placing windows in this garages. I've often seen in the neighborhood as well, some smaller scale windows.
The homeowner doesn't want windows, but I'm sure that I could come back and recommend those to the homeowner. I think just for privacy and security, that they prefer not to have windows installed.
Okay.
Which is pretty typical in alley garages for us.
Mhm. That's all we go.
I agree with the comment about the windows. It just looks so much better to have a window versus all these blank walls that are going around there, even if they were on the side of their house, that, you know, maybe they would think there's some more surveillance, but I think there's also bars and things that you could put up, you know, that hopefully would look nice. Because it's just nice to have some natural light inside as well. The only thing that I would add to that is I'm wondering about the slope of the roof. It seems flatter than what we typically see on these garages, and a roof with a little bit more steepness to it is going to be more in keeping with the historic character. That's what I'm thinking, but I wanted to ask staff about that. Do we have requirements for roof slopes?
I don't believe so, as long as they're keeping within the character of the neighborhood or streetscape. For the roof pitch, you know, a flatter roof, if it's gonna have a gable, not typically recommended. But there's been steep pitches, there's been flat roofs, of course, for, you know, block garages and some sort, but
What's a typical slope?
412 is a typical slope, which is not very sloped.
But 412 in some conditions, but that's a pretty low slope.
That is very low. And this particular garage, I believe, is an 812.
I can't read it. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
It sure doesn't look like it.
Does that look like 6 over 12? It just does look like.
It just looks flat compared to ones that we typically see, and I am looking, it's like 6 and 12.
So the drawings do reflect a 612.
Does it?
Yes, I mean, if it is the proposed A12, that could be changed in the drawings, potentially based off commissioners.
I think you have a contract just for an 812, so it is in fact an 812 pitch.
It is an 812?
Yes.
That's better. This says this is showing a 6 and 12, so.
That might be more in line with the example images.
Yeah.
Up down the alley, the 8 to 12.
I'm good.
Do you have anything else?
That's fine.
On the garage door, with this only being a 5-foot apron in the alley, 5 by 22 apron, can we stay with the one solid door, but put the 16-foot door, but put the 2 gooseneck lights
Yeah, I think that's
over
what
it?
Commissioner.
I'm sorry.
Landscape. Yeah, that's what, I think the recommendation would be those 2 goosenecks. You can keep the one garage door,
Okay,
but
perfect.
use a garage door that appears to be 2 different ones.
Oh, it does need to have that design.
Just an appearance, but then you still have the maneuverability there.
Yep.
Do you have anything to add?
Just to maybe go on about the garage door a little bit, the style that is selected is called a long panel. I think in the, for the length of the garage door would not work. So to make it appear to be 2 different doors, so I think you're gonna have to choose a different style of door. But I would agree that if it is a single garage door that looks like 2 that would be okay. I'm also in agreement with adding a window or two, probably on the resident side of the garage, maybe on either side of the man door.
I agree about the windows. I also think we need accurate drawings to reflect the, what is it, 8/12?
Roof pitch.
And regarding the garage doors, so is this coming for approval?
Yes, it is. So we can have those conditions with staff reviewing them, or we can continue to allow these changes to be presented during August meeting, whatever the commission is.
Yeah, like if you think they'll be okay with windows and staff could approve those, then
Absolutely.
you guys.
And the roof pitch.
And the roof pitch, and yeah, it's just all three of those conditions,
So
basically.
let's do on the 20-foot side of the garage where the man door is, can I recommend to them one window?
That's on the resident side, yeah.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Is that okay with?
I think so.
Yeah, we just did that 2 months ago. Added just one next to the man door, so I think that that's appropriate. In line with previous recommendations.
And the window would be from the approved windows list. Do the commissions have a opinion on the style, like one or?
Yeah, let's get a full window in there. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Before we do make a motion, Commissioner, just real quick, we have two other items on our conditions, just to see if you did.
Okay.
That's really, if you want to include it or not. The drawings currently say that the eaves are to be wrapped in aluminum. Typically, we've not recommended that we would, if applicant is in agreement as well, commissioners. And for the ridges to be capped with the metal ridge roll, should see it to be Taylor's red or gray. Or other conditions, if the commissioners would like to.
We don't allow, but certainly don't allow aluminum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Take this one. Do you want me to take this one?
Someone's got to take it. I'm not allowed to take it.
Okay, so I move to approve with some stipulations. IV 2307-019. 18. Where am I? Am I on the wrong one? Oh, I am, sorry. 018. With the stipulation that the garage doors will be changed to an appearance that looks like two garage doors with two gooseneck fixtures centered over each of those implied single garage doors.
Yep.
That a 1/1 window will be added to the one side or the other, probably the latch side of the man door on the resident side of the garage, and that the pitch of the roof will be confirmed to be 8/12.
Yes.
And that the fascia will be wood, not aluminum, and a ridge vent will be added. Did I get it?
You got it. Do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Almost last but not least, because it looks like we have old business. 07 IV 2307019, 267 Greenwood Ave. Oh, I've allowed this to go way too long.
There's a lot of additional items, so it's perfect.
Can you raise your right hand, state your name for the record?
Charles Parrott.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth to the best of your ability?
I do.
Okay, staff.
This is the conceptual applications, no action will be taken on this. Proposing to split the lot into two separate lots, construct two-family residential units, one on each lot. The lot is currently occupied with a small concrete block garage abutting Greenwood Avenue. Variances included as well. For north lot, it'll be 333215 to decrease the minimum required 6,000 square feet to 4,340.8 square feet. 333215 to allow fronting towards Greenwood Avenue, which is considered an alley. 3332.26F to reduce the west side yard minimum setback from 5.55 feet to 4 feet at the west property line. And for the south lot, 333215A4, decrease the minimum required lot width of 50 feet to 27.5 feet. 333215 to decrease the minimum required 6,000 square feet to 3,042 square feet. 3332.26F to decrease the side yard minimum from 5.5 feet to 5 feet at the east property line and to 4 feet at the west property line. And 3332.18D to increase the maximum building lot coverage from 50 to 64.17%. Staff looked into the Sanborn maps to see what had previously existed on the property. Since the properties facing East 4th Avenue are predominantly single-family homes, we've identified that there's record of a 2-story single-family home being located on the corner of East 4th Avenue and North 5th Street, which was present in 1901 to 1951. Additionally, there's evidence of 2 single-family homes being located on North 5th Street as 1122 and 1126. Currently, the property consists of a concrete block garage that was built around the mid to late 1960s. Staff would be in support of the construction of new residential properties within this lot, since historically there would have been dwelling units. We would encourage applicants to refer to City Code 311612, new construction and short North design guidelines, new construction for context, height, rhythm, openings, and material. Just specifically for the property facing East 4th Avenue to be more in line with the dwellings along that block, such as the dwelling unit at 268 East 4th Avenue, which was recently approved and constructed in 2019. Additionally, IBC will need to evaluate if the garage is contributing. The commissioners could offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future IBC meeting, and no action is required for this application.
You want to start? Oh, sorry, you can, yeah, I always forget. The applicant might want to say something.
Thanks for your time. The lot's current, to me, the big step is to receive at least support in creating 2 lots out of 1. And so in order to, in order to continue the project or at least advance the project, I'd like to have some clear understanding of whether or not we would be able to get some support on that. You know, it's a quirky lot. 5th Street is technically an alley. I mean, it's used as that. It's you know, side yard, back of the house. You know, came to my surprise that Greenwood is actually considered an alley. And so, you know, we would like to support along Greenwood the fronting of the property in order to maintain that context. We'd also like to be able to have the you know, as a scheme that in order to have each individual unit be a kind of a microcosm of the uniqueness of the lot. So that's why we kind of chose the geometries as we did. We think the scale of the project, you know, from a height standpoint, we're not asking for any increase in height variances or anything like that. And then it activates this neighborhood and provides you know, plenty of off-street parking. Recently, the neighborhood has gone to the 90-gallon trash cans, and so that's something where each individual unit, well, I mean, you're not going to have these 300-gallon things sticking in the street, so each individual unit will be able to roll, you know, the trash containers back. And so we just really like the opportunity to activate 5th Street. Recently, I was there, and there's people walking their dogs, and it's, you know, there's no sidewalks there, and we're proposing allowing for sidewalks to be along 5th Street, also the perimeter of the or 3 sides of the property, both the south, the west, and the north side. So allowing for that pedestrian walkability to be enhanced for the neighborhood. So I think contextually we're you know, we're engaging the property appropriately, and I would like your support for the lot split in the very beginning.
Thanks. Yeah, I can start off and, yeah, I agree that this is definitely a very unique lot with the, almost three sides of this property all having, like some front door aspect to it. So Greenwood having all of those front doors on the alley, like that's a very unique condition in Italian Village. Fifth Ave across the street has some front doors as well, I believe. As well as Fourth Avenue having the frontage. So I really appreciate that on all those sides, you are providing kind of that front door, eyes on the street availability to these condos or apartments or whatever it will be. So I think definitely throughout the design phase, maintaining the feeling that none of those streets are alleyways and treating them more like a front space is appropriate for this area. I appreciate you bringing up the trash issue because that's something that we normally have to bring up and is largely discussed. And the solution you've provided seems like it would work for this area. And definitely agree with trying to make this more pedestrian friendly and making sure on your future drawings as well, just to always showcase that like sidewalk addition and any kind of any efforts there that are regarding that pedestrian walk. I do wonder, I don't know about like lot coverage percentages, how that will work out with this lot split. Wondering if you've already looked into that or not, but just curious about, especially on the one along Fourth Avenue, because I think that one's a little bit more packed than the Greenwood Avenue facing one. So just something to consider. And then I think those were the main like beginning points as far as development of the actual I guess facade and everything. I'm sure we'll be progressing through that, but in this, as a general note, in this area, you do see quite the mix of industrial to kind of the more historic look, and often we just request to pick one or the other, and reiterating that industrial look rather than kind of a newer modern take on some things would be my initial feedback. But yeah, exciting that this lot would get some activity on it.
Correct. I think it's a really nice project. And I think Paige covered a lot of things that I agree with. The only question that I have, we have to go back and forth between enlarging one view and then making something else smaller. And so it's sometimes hard for me to get to a couple of the things quickly. But the question that I have, and, I think the facade along this street is really nice. I'm just wondering what's happening on the other side, which way am I looking, if that's north, right? How, because we don't really see where the other residence is. If Greenwood's up, north, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that would be east. On the east side, where does that house hit in that lot? Because I see these two thicker wall kind of panels with the diagonal lines. But where is the house itself over there?
You can answer.
I'm allowed to answer. When- We didn't place an aerial axonometric.
Okay.
I just don't like the views, frankly. And so on the
Well, even the
elevation,
site and
on the site, I'm sorry,
I said just even on the site plan's okay. If
on the site plan, there's this house.
Can you zoom into that a little bit more?
So there's a house to the left that's kind of hatched. On the east side, there's two houses that are hatched. They're kind of U-shaped hatches.
And so you say there's a
house there.
but that's just a U-shaped hatch.
Yeah,
So two houses there?
No, there's one house. So there's houses all along, but this is coming off the survey. So it's a little unclear. But that house is, I think it's 5 feet off the property line. We set that back 13 feet. We try to create a nice big yard and space between the two to try to maximize that rear yard for that unit. So again, it's a super wide lot.
I think we can get into those details in the next review as well. I think we're gonna need better site plans.
Yeah, I've been in touch with Christine Lead, and we've kind of been back and forth a lot on how to get the lots to be balanced. Can I answer the one question about the lot on the south lot, about the size of it?
Let's wait until, yeah. Do you have anything else, Carla?
And then also just lot coverage, just, making sure that we've got some permeability, that we're keeping up in place with trees and all those good things. But like I said, I think it's a really nice initial conceptual design.
I think this is a really interesting concept. And so I'm anxious to see how it develops. The one thing I would agree that as Commissioner Page said, talked about the residential versus the industrial aesthetic of the neighborhood, to pick one or the other. But the one thing that the staff comments about being sensitive to the residential homes surrounding. I'm curious about height of this, if your new buildings are taller than the surrounding homes. It looks like it's in line with one to the left of the front elevation for the first elevation, but that might just be the perspective. But it looks a little like the house to the right is shorter, and just to see where it falls within the context of the existing homes. The other thing is, and I know that this is just a concept, but the steps that you're showing feel really short compared to the longer steps of the existing house next door. And I wonder that if you have room, if when you're designing those steps, that you just have a nice width to the tread, and instead of just those little short little
Okay.
squatty things. But I think this is going to be a fun project to see develop.
So I agree with all the comments. I think a couple things that will help the conversation along. I think what you heard tonight is that everyone's fine with the lot split.
Yep.
So you can continue on with that. The things that you will want to look out for is lot coverage, especially on the southern, with the southern duplexes. It looks like you're at a very high lot coverage once it's split, right? So once you split it, you can't count the other, can't count the new lot towards your lot coverage. So that's going to be something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. We often, when we are putting homes on streets like this, request to see a perspective with a few heights on a line, so we can understand, while you might be under the maximum height, if the homes surrounding you are shorter and they're historic, we're going to need you to stick to those heights or shorter. You're not going to be able to go taller than the historic homes around you. I think a site plan that shows the interaction with the other homes is to the west or to the east is, yeah, this is north. Okay, to the east is going to be helpful as well. Anything else?
Thank you. There's a peculiar zoning rule with long, narrow lots that you cannot, if they go beyond a certain ratio of like width to length, you can only use so much. I think it's 3 times the width. And so because this lot ends up being like only 28 feet wide, you can only go 3 times that, I believe.
I
Okay,
think that might be.
so it's something like that.
Yeah.
So even though lot coverage is actually more, we can't, the ratio that we could use is less. That's why the variance appears to be gross.
I think if we could physically see it, I think that this site plan is a little bit hard for us to understand
Okay,
where the structures are versus the open space, and the landscaping. I think if we can see that a little bit better and can have a visual aerial understanding of the lot coverage, that will feel more comfortable, because what it looks like to me right now is like that the whole lot is taken up. Now that I'm looking at it, it does look like you potentially have an open corner.
it's, yeah, and I appreciate those comments. So thank you for the support on the lot split, and that allows us to advance the project appropriately.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Since this is a conceptual review, various recommendations will need to come back for a recommendation, since it's just a conceptual, just FYI, also for the design itself of the building. And we typically recommend them coming around the same time if possible, or the design versus variance after. That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, so you have not received an approval variances.
I understand that.
Okay.
I was thinking, do you recommend coming back for a conceptual review on the facades? And because it's kind of like a lot of work to advance in such a short amount of time.
You can go get the lot splits now, right? Do we need to?
I'm sure, actually.
I think let's just take this one step at a time.
Yeah, that is fine. Yeah, that's for application thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's appropriate. Yeah.
All right, it looks like we have old business on 1030 North High Street.
Not up here, the applicant president, I was not informed that they would be here or not.
It's not, take care, I'm not.
Nice. Did something.
Oh, he's not here?
He is not here. We probably recommend continuing.
Yeah.
That works for the commissioners.
Yeah.
Business, sorry, by old business, these means it was extended, like he wasn't here last time.
So they have revised their design. Some portions of the design that was previously approved, yeah.
Yeah.
We just add them up.
So he's trying to amend the COA we gave him.
Yes. Thank you for the burgers. Perfect way to put it, but we will need to have a continued motion and for that application.
Do I have a motion to continue that application?
I move that we continue application, what's the number?
8.
ID 2307-020, Commissioner Trump.
There you go, not 8.
8. And a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Let's adjourn.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Sorry for how long.
Oh, no, that's sort of long applications of, 1 or 2, so.
I kept getting.
Well, I feel like some of it we used to like, I feel like some other people were here, we might have, we hadn't come back, and I rather just. Yeah.